We let the music roll when the Celtics win. Everybody knows the drill. This is Celtics Talk Weekly post-game live. It's good to be back. It is absolutely good to be back, Brendon. I'm Justin.
Yes, I'm
Lowe.
excited.
This is Brendon Cox, my new co-host. We're so excited. We're bringing in a lot of new faces around here on the Celtics Talk Weekly team, and we're super excited for it. Brendon was actually on 2 weeks ago, Celtics Talk Weekly podcast. They chopped it up.
My debut episode. I was excited to be a part of it, and to many more, right? I'm happy.
To many more. And I'll tell you right now, this has been a absolute fire start to the season for the Boston Celtics. They come out in Abu Dhabi in the global games of 2024, and they absolutely take care of business in both games. A 4-point win on Friday afternoon, and tonight this morning, a 26-point victory here to close out the Abu Dhabi game. Celtics fans, are you looking for a great deal on tickets this upcoming season? Well, guess what? Us here at Celtics Talk Weekly, we are partnered with SeatGeek, so we have you covered. SeatGeek organizes tickets to perfection. They give you green deals for great deals. They give you yellow deals for moderate deals, and then they'll keep you away from the bad deals with a red dot. They help organize tickets very well. I know us here at Celtics Talk Weekly uses SeatGeek, so we're very excited about this partnership. This one hits close home to us. And also, Celtics are coming back home next weekend. They play 2 preseason games back-to-back Saturday and Sunday night. So definitely use SeatGeek for your ticket needs. If you want, use code Celtics Weekly at checkout for $20 off your first purchase. That is, again, code Celtics Weekly for $20 off your first purchase. We thank Team SeatGeek for sponsoring us and partnering up with us here this season at Celtics Talk Weekly. Now, Brendon, I want to get into this game because this game was a polar opposite of what we saw in game one. Game one, Denver actually had that double-digit lead in the first half. Boston was the one who climbed back in and was able to close out the deal. This time, it was a tight first half, but Boston really pulled away in that third quarter. I want to start with, let's kind of go from the first quarter on. I want to talk about Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, because these two tonight started off right on the right foot. We'll start with our player spotlight, who was it was Jaylen Brown. He had 21 points on 50% field goal shooting. What did you like from the Jays? We'll start with Jaylen Brown.
Definitely, I think what's interesting too is he was kind of showing a little bit more of the fadeaway kind of game aspect to his style too. But not just Jaylen Brown, but also with Jason Tatum too. I think they had combining almost 20 points in the first quarter. That's just I want to see more of those from even though we see them from time to time from our players, from those two guys. I want to see it more this season, because that's going to make us even better as if they play together and they have those scoring together, combining point tonight. So.
Absolutely. I thought Jaylen Brown was ultra aggressive tonight. He showed why he put on that muscle in the offseason. He was taking the ball to the basket. I think his ball handling has gotten exceptionally better. He looked very comfortable dribbling the basketball out there. And it's funny, Rob texted in the group chat, kind of a small, minute thing that Jaylen Brown has struggled with throughout his career is his free throw shooting. So it's definitely important, and it's very important. Not only are the free throws free; those are big, big shots to hit, especially when it's a close game down the stretch, and you got to play the foul game. But also, with how aggressive Jaylen Brown is and how aggressive he's been playing recently here in the preseason, it's going to be really important for Jaylen Brown to knock down those free throws. But his strengths, his ball handling looks exceptionally well. He looks so comfortable out there. He played 23 minutes tonight, which Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown played the exact same minutes. They were at the exact same time in game one. They were in at the exact same time in game two. But they played 4 extra minutes. I thought Jaylen Brown played exceptionally well. He got a little bit too aggressive there in that third quarter, picked up his 5th foul, but it's preseason. He wasn't going to play that entire second half anyway. But I just absolutely love what I saw from Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum as well. And I mentioned this in the group chat. We talk about the 3-point shooting of the Jays, specifically Jason Tatum. Both games, Jason Tatum shot 3 of 7 from deep. And that's when Rob kind of said, like, and we mentioned it in the podcast as well, where it's like Jason Tatum shooting 10, 11, 12 threes a game. That's not his game. That's not where the Celtics, that's not his bread and butter. His bread and butter is in the post and in the mid-range. And we saw a lot of mid-range tonight from Jason Tatum, Brennan.
Yeah, definitely. I know. I think it's kind of like that thing where, he has to obviously focus on what his bread and butter is, like you just said too. But I think that maybe his new, transition to the new form this year could help a little bit too, kind of get a more comfortable form. I think it's less, like I said in the group chat too, it's less painful for him to take those shots.
Right. Jason Tatum looked rejuvenated. Like, he didn't look painful when he was shooting those shots.
He feels comfortable. Which I love.
He absolutely feels comfortable. He feels confident. And I really enjoyed what I watched of Jason Tatum tonight. It's funny. Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown were playing like the Dirk Luka game, where it's like they get into the high post and then they drill a fall away shot, which has been a staple for both of them so far in this preseason. We've seen them do it a couple of times specifically throughout this game. So it's going to be interesting to see if they can carry that over to the regular season. Because I do think that's where the Celtics are at their best, when Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown are in that post, and when they drive and they kick. If they want to generate 3-pointers, let it be off the drive and kick off of one of Jaylen or Jason Tatum. But I also want to mention the play of Sam Hauser tonight, because Sam Hauser kind of had an opposite game. Game one, he kind of came out slow, 2 of 8 shooting, wasn't really showing too much off the bench. Well, tonight he shot 6 of 7 in 16 minutes. He shot 3 of 3 from distance. He had 8 rebounds. He was getting after it on the glass, and he had 15 points. I get it's preseason, Brennan, but how important is this play from guys like Sam Hauser? And we're about to mention Peyton Pritchard too, because he had another solid game off the bench. How important is it? Because we know what we can get from Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. But as Jaylen Brown said during media day, it's games like these in the preseason. It's games like these against against Detroit in Washington, with no disrespect, that these two are going to have their nights. These two are going to have the ball in their hands during those nights to help build confidence. So how important is it to see Peyton Pritchard and Sam Hauser come out in Abu Dhabi and really dominate off the bench?
So starting Sam Hauser, he's obviously a wicked, catch and shoot kind of player. I mean, he's the guy that we trust. I think as of since last year, and obviously right now, I think he's the most consistent 3-point shooter on this team. I think he knows when to take those shots. So he's obviously, we don't see him do much of a lot of other things in disrespect. It's just, he kind of just I think he knows when to take those 3-pointers, and he knows when to take those shots too, but definitely.
Yeah. And Peyton Pritchard, the gym rat, they call him, because he can never leave the gym. Preseason P has been full
P, yeah,
once again. And it's incredible, because Peyton Pritchard is somebody who, obviously, from his rookie year, the rookie year comes around, that weird COVID season where he ends up getting a huge opportunity. And then all of a sudden after that, the championship run against Golden State that year, he kind of fell out of the rotation. And then the year after that, not so much. And then last year, he really got back into the rotation. There were times where Peyton Pritchard wanted to be traded. He didn't necessarily hate being around Boston, but he believed he deserved a bigger and better opportunity. His opportunity is certainly coming around, especially within this last season or two, Brendan. And it's so cool to see how this defines who Peyton Pritchard is. Peyton Pritchard defines what a Boston Celtic is. It's like he's a gym rat. He's a dog. He doesn't care. He's going to make the most out of any little opportunity he's going to get. And I feel like he's really earned that spot off the bench. And at nights, he's going to be starting if Drew Holiday or Derek White goes down. Peyton Pritchard's going to have to be that guy. So it's just really cool and really also important to see Peyton Pritchard really step into that role and accept his role, because there was times, like I said, there were times where Peyton Pritchard wanted to be traded away, dealt away. But I'm so glad that he decided to really use it as an opportunity to fuel his game. And boy, has that paid off, and it's really shown here.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, a lot of us have said before, like we just said before, Peyton Pritchard had that crazy rookie season where he kind of, and then obviously a couple of years later, he falls out of the rotation, but then he's found his groove, and then he wanted out. Possibly could be a starter on another team if he wanted to, but I think, right, like you just said too, when Holiday is out or Derek White might fill in the point guard position or Holiday's out, he could definitely take over the starting point guard role. I could definitely see him being at the one in the next couple of years, say if Drew Holiday retires, but we need his aggression. I think he plays his heart out every night, and he wants to. He wants to help this team in any way he can.
I think the biggest difference also with this Celtics team, because we mentioned this before we hit record, and we also heard it from Brian Scalabrine, the analyst over on NBC Sports Boston. It's like this team is clicking on all cylinders. The first unit, the second unit, the third and fourth unit, like everyone, guys 1 through 15, look like they just won a championship together, right? And I think that you don't see that often. You don't see teams do a full rerun back, right? You don't see teams do the whole run it back thing too often. And when they do, it usually doesn't work out as great as they thought it could. And I understand that it's just 2 preseason games and the starters on either team didn't play a lot of minutes, but I look at the bench during the preseason. Everybody knows summer league and preseason is Justin's favorite time of the year, and that's because you get to see guys who don't normally get the rotational minutes during the regular season as well as the postseason. So that's why I like talking about guys like Sam Hauser, guys like Peyton Pritchard, Nemayesh Keita, who we're about to talk about, because I think it's important that we know what we're going to get from Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Kristaps Porzingis, but we also want to see who can back those guys up and how well they can mesh together. And this team has meshed very well. It's hard to win by 30 in the NBA, Brian Scalabrine said. And I agree with that. It is absolutely hard, but the Celtics have done that with ease this past season, last year. And then so far here in the preseason, when they just click on all cylinders. I think the ball movement could be attested to that. Celtics had 29 assists on 37 field goals in game 1. And then here this morning in game 2, they had 33 assists on 47 made field goals. The ball is flowing well. I think that opens up the floor. I think that's why you see 61 3-point shots and 47 3-point shots here this morning. When the ball is moving and the ball is kicking, that's when the Celtics are at their best, and that's going to open up the floor. And when you have shooters like Sam Hauser, Peyton Pritchard, Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, obviously you throw in Drew Holiday, who shot upwards of 60+% from 3 last year from the corners. That's going to be really dangerous. That's going to be really hard to stop. It doesn't matter what point of the year it is, preseason, postseason, or regular season. That's hard basketball to guard. And I give credit to Joe Mazzulla, because we talk about all the time, these 3-point shots and 61 threes, that's ridiculous, and this and that. Well, it's you don't see teams put up 61 threes, right? Like, they're just not chucking up threes. The Celtics aren't just shooting 61 threes, right? And I know Rob probably doesn't like it because it's not a recipe for winning, but I think the Celtics showed that it can be a recipe for winning last year. So when the Celtics are swinging the ball like you seen them, especially in these 2 preseason games, I definitely think the looks at which the Celtics have gotten are very high quality, and that'll lead to winning basketball. Brendon, another thing is the turnovers. Right. The Celtics had 18 turnovers in game 1. They absolutely cleaned that up. They cut that number in half. Only 9 turnovers this morning. Sorry. Still not used to having a morning game.
Yeah, I know. Me too. Me neither. It's still too early for me, but regardless. Yeah.
But the low turnovers, Brendon, attest to the 30-point preseason win. Right. Like,
yeah,
I feel like
it was definitely,
Go ahead. No, I was
No,
going
no,
to
you
say, I
go
feel
ahead.
like when the Celtics clean up their game, like they're just so unstoppable. It's just not their shooting.
That was definitely, like, the biggest thing too, like, to go back. I know we're going back in time, but still, like, when think about, like, the 2022 NBA Finals, like, our turnovers were bad, and the new players we've gotten right now, I think it's definitely, you know, they know how to control the ball better, and so, like you said before, like, Jaylen Brown has a better time of handling the ball, and then obviously not forcing too many of those, so it's gonna be fun to watch and see if we can, keep that low this year, which it's needed this year, especially if you wanna run it back.
Absolutely. I think the maturity of everyone as well, not getting themselves into trouble. I mentioned Jaylen Brown's ball handling looks to be significantly improved in this preseason, and that those were a lot of turnovers as well. Was the difficulty of Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum? Yeah, your two best players, but at times it has seemed as if they had gotten complacent and they willy nilly turn the ball over, but. The Celtics just look crisp, man. The Celtics just absolutely look crisp. They look like they haven't skipped a beat. Obviously, they added a couple new guys. They extended some guys. It's going to be cool to see Xavier Tillman have a full season with the Celtics, obviously coming in at the trade deadline. Meshed in well with the Celtics, but you could tell that there was definitely you could tell we acquired him in February. So this is an important preseason for those types of guys. Also, Rob wanted me to talk about this, and I'm happy to talk about it because we look at the big man depth, right? We've talked about the guards and the wings, but the big man depth is kind of the big question mark. As you saw, Al Horford sit out this morning. No Kristaps Porzingis for at least Christmas, December. So it's going to be
Hopefully,
interesting.
maybe NBA Cup. I mean, I'm hoping that, but I
Eh,
mean,
He's teased it. He's teased it, but we're definitely going with the first month to 2 months without Kristaps Porzingis. So
but
it's
of course,
going
don't
to
rush it.
be
Don't rush it, though. You know what I mean?
Oh, absolutely don't rush it. But
Yeah,
and that
exactly.
brings up my point of, this is what it's going to look like for the Celtics was tonight was Luke Cornett getting the start. And then it was interesting because the Celtics, I'm sure it's going to be based off of matchups, but Nehemiah Queta was first off the Celtics bench in terms of big guys tonight. Played 17 minutes, 7 points, 3 rebounds, and 2 assists. I'm just reading off the stat sheet. 2 of 3, very aggressive, ran the baseline well. And then you had Xavier Tillman, who is an undersized center. He comes in 15 minutes off the bench, 3 of 5. His 3-point shot looks really crisp. And I think the Celtics big man depth, and I mentioned it in the podcast, it's like we're like the Power Rangers. Like each big guy has their own superpower, right? And I think I think it's going to be interesting to see how the Celtics handle second nights of back to backs with Horford out, and then Kristaps Porzingis being out, as you mentioned, till around the NBA Cup, between the NBA Cup and Christmas. So, how do you view the Celtics big man depth? As we saw here in the preseason, Luke Cornett got 2 starts, and then Queta comes off the bench.
Yeah, it's definitely it's gonna change a lot until December
Mm,
too, and it might even change even when Porzingis is back too, because he might. I don't think I see him playing too many games even when he comes back. But regardless of that, though, I'm interesting to see. Obviously, what it'll be like when we could even see Nemias Queta get the start too, because he was pretty
mm.
impressive this series too. Um, but the one who excites me the most is Xavier Tillman because I think that he definitely could fill in that role. I've told Rob before and other people, Al Horford, when he leaves, obviously, I think Tillman can kind of fit that role perfectly too. But I think Cornette and his height, it's just, I mean, the big man depth is going to be interesting though, for sure, to kind of rotate back and forth. But I'm not sure who's going to step up the most, but I think all those three, Tillman, Cornette, and Kata will all step up in big ways too when Horford's out for back to backs until KP comes back healthy as well.
I think Luke Cornett has done an exceptional job in the starting role here in these first 2 preseason games. Um, I think offensively, he's just so solid. And it's funny because in college and even in his early days in the NBA, he was nothing but a stretch big. He was nothing but a 3-point shooter. One of the greatest 3-point shooters in NCAA history in terms of big men. But his game has significantly taken a turn since since he's been with Boston. Yet he still continues to space the floor really well for the Celtics. He plays that free throw line, high block game really well, the pick and roll very well. And he played 21 minutes in game one, just 14 here in game two, sat out the entire second half. But he's been running the baseline so well. His hands have been a lot more active around the rim, both rebounding and catching. He seems his physicality has taken another step since last season. Luke Cornett has impressed me a lot. And before the NBA Cup, I'd say there were doubts about Luke Cornett. I would say there were doubts about Luke Cornett. That was one of the bigger debates here at Celtics Talk Weekly. And we've always loved Luke Cornett. We've always wanted to keep him around, especially for the incredible vibes and camaraderie that he brings to this team. But there was also a question. There was a huge, significant gap between Luke Cornett and Robert Williams at the time. Luke Cornett, Al Horford, right? And I still think there's that gap, but I still think that when you're comparing him to a Tillman or a Keita, what option to go with, there are definitely certain points where you need Cornett, where you need Luke Cornett. That might sound crazy to people, but I absolutely think Luke Cornett has fit into this phenomenal center for the Boston Celtics. Very underrated, and he fills his role very well. I want to see the physicality go to another level with Luke Cornett, defensively as well, right? I think he's got to use his size to his advantage. There's not many 7'3" players out there in the NBA, but from a player who strictly just shot 3-pointers at 7'3" to now where he's down on the block and he's around the rim, I think he's played exceptionally well. And I think you have to attest to the Celtics developmental system because you essentially changed his entire game. You essentially changed and he made that sacrifice and he made that switch. So I give Luke Cornett a lot of credit, Brendon, because I think he's going to be a big piece to this team in this upcoming season. I really do.
Yeah, no, I think definitely. I think he's even changed. He's taking a turn from his he's taking a turn for the better. Obviously, he's playing like a normal big should. Those bigs need to help block shots, like get up in the paint. But I mean, we don't really see the three from him anymore, really. I mean, we do from time to time, but I love how he's just trying to take a turn and focus on what he needs to do as his size as a 7'2" footer. So it's it really helps. It's going to help this depth a lot with the absence of Porzingis, and then when Horford sits out back-to-backs too, he can definitely be a big piece of what we need to help with this defense as well this season.
Right. And then you get those, and staying on the topic of the big men, like you get a guy like Xavier Tillman, who's kind of the opposite, where he is very, very physical, but he's undersized. He's undersized for a big man. But I think he's done I even said it in the group chat today, like he has done such a good job spacing out the floor for the Celtics. And people forget about Xavier Tillman in the corner. And it makes me laugh because he was a sub 28, low 30s 3-point shooter, but he's also had to adjust that coming into Boston. And you heard Drew Carter mention it as well. Like this is a shift for Xavier Tillman as well, where he now comes in and the Celtics are shooting, upwards of 35 to 53s a game. Like that's a lot of 3-pointers, even in today's game of basketball. And Xavier Tillman has really done a really good job. I see his jump shot has significantly improved. There's more flow in it. I don't know if he's changed anything or if he's just more comfortable and confident in it. He was 2 of 3 in game 1, 1 of 2 here in game 2. But you mentioned it with Xavier Tillman as well. Like he's just a very, very solid undersized center for the Celtics who really has a chance here. And I think they believe that because he could be an Al Horford replacement. People also forget how young Tillman is. And
he's still, he doesn't look like it, but I mean, he is. He's only like in like his late 20s. It's like he could, I'm just like, this is what makes me happy about that too.
You're right. And then you look at a guy like Nemajic Keita, where Keita, freak athlete, kind of struggling to find his way in the system over in Sacramento, and he comes over here in Boston and shines in the summer league, earns a two-way contract. And then similar to Luke Cornett, don't forget that 2022 year, Luke Cornett was on a two-way contract. Celtics brought him up and signed a standard deal around the trade deadline. Keita comes in and he goes from a two-way contract last year to now a extended standard contract. So there's the opportunity is going to be there for these guys, these three centers, Keita, Tillman, and Cornett. And I'm sure matchup wise, they will each have their moments for sure. But I think the Celtics have a very solid front court backup depth for themselves here that people give them credit for. Lonnie Walker, 7 minutes tonight, 4 minutes the other night, is yet to make a field goal. He's 0 of 6. I think his time is coming, though. I think his time's coming. You didn't see much of him in these two games, Brendon, but Celtics have two home games coming up here in Boston. Do you expect to see Lonnie Walker a lot more in these next specifically two games in Boston?
I think he has a lot that he can bring to the table. I think what we needed this offseason was a little bit of wing depth. So I think he definitely is that kind of veteran. He obviously his rookie year, he had that big injury. But I mean, ever since coming back from it, he's helped a lot of teams with success. Right. So he definitely could help this team as well.
Right. I think it's going to be interesting to see how the Celtics handle this back-to-back, because it's so rare that the Celtics get back-to-backs, or really any team gets back-to-backs in preseason.
At home.
Especially at home, which I'm going to both. I was like, when I saw that, I was like, yeah, I'm getting tickets to these games. So it's going to be cool to see how the Celtics handle a back-to-back in the preseason, especially after a week off, because they don't play again until Saturday. So again, you're going to see the big man depth here. I'm sure you'll see Horford in one of these two games. I'm sure it'll be the first game against Philadelphia. But I'm going to be interested to see how Mazzulla handles these. But I will say, and I'll go back to what Scal was saying about how rare it is to see teams run it back, specifically look so sharp early on. I think with this team, I think you have to look at the longevity of this team in the window of this team, right? Like the Celtics brought guys back for a reason, and they signed them to longer term deals for a reason. So these guys want to be here, and they're going to be here. And I think it shows with how this preseason has gone so far. Like these guys, Brendon, these guys want to win. These guys want to win, and they know their time is now. Last year is out the window, and you can tell. Like last year happened, and in the moment it was sweet, but they want to relive that. They want to start from ground zero and build back up, right? And I think it's shown. It is absolutely shown so far here in the preseason. And I think it's going to continue to show. And I think as the preseason goes on, obviously you'll see the starters' minutes really wind down, and you'll get to see those bench guys shine. And I can't imagine what it's going to be like come regular season and specifically banner night. But these guys are clicking, and these guys have not skipped a beat, is the point that I'm trying to make. These guys have absolutely not skipped a beat. And Brendon, I don't know what you think, but they don't look they
haven't lost a step. I'm telling you,
they haven't. It's like
they're looking fresh.
They are looking fresh. Like they're not looking like, I shouldn't say they don't look like they're coming off a championship, because obviously you just won, you're gonna be good. But last year is just they put last year totally behind them, and they want to win now. They don't care if it's preseason. They want to step on people's throats. They're out for blood.
Something that hyped me up really last year was it was the press conference right after Game 4 of the Eastern Conference Finals. It was Al Horford. And he told the media, he's like, right before the finals, we know what we have to do. The vision is super clear. We need to finish this. I want them to have that exact same mindset going. Right. I know the finals is not till June, but I mean, I'm not looking ahead though, but still I want 82, each of these 82 games. They should be going on that court every night and just finishing the job. They need to just have that mindset every night. The vision is clear. They want to repeat.
Do you think they can?
Yeah, I mean, I think that they showed that they can win without Porzingis last year. They had a good record without him, even in the postseason. I mean, it
Right.
just depends on how they want to play, though. But I think that since they know they want to be here, they know they want to win, like you just said too. This is something that they need to just finish. I think
Mm.
they can, though. I'm so pumped. It's just like they can do this. I think.
I I want to see this in the regular season. I think we'll get that in the regular season. Um, it excites me how dialed in these guys are. Like I was a little bit nervous coming into the preseason. I don't doubt the Celtics can't go back to back. That's not what I'm saying. But I was a little bit nervous in the preseason. I was like, well, maybe we'll split in Abu Dhabi. Maybe I wonder if there'll be any rust. I wonder if there'll be anything. No, like I just said, Celtics just haven't skipped a beat. And even when they were down 12 the other night, Celtics were generating good looks. I think they did a great job cleaning up the turnovers, as we just talked about this morning, and they look so fresh. And I'm excited to see Philly come into town. I'm hoping the Celtics handle this back to back as well as Philadelphia, as play the starters on the first night, because Philly is a team that you're going to see 4 times in the regular season. Philly is a team that you could see in the second round, if not the Eastern Conference Final. Like this is a Philly team that you're going to have to worry about until May. Till May.
A lot of people in a lot of teams in our division have kind of changed their teams, so it's going to be interesting to see how we
Right.
do against Philly, and then also the Knicks as well. But yeah, it's going to be a little. It's going to be a little sketchy this year. I feel like with the other two teams that
I,
are
I,
being
I
talked
mean,
about. Yeah,
I'm not. I can't. I'm not. I mean, you look at Philly and you look at New York. I think if you're going to worry about one of the two teams, I think it would be New York uh, over Philly. But I want to see Philly. I want to see Philly on Saturday night. I want Embiid to play. I want Paul George to play. I want all the smoke in the preseason. I don't care if it's preseason. That's it. So whenever it's Celtics versus Sixers, it's always exciting. Preseason, regular season, or playoffs. So it's going to be interesting. But we will have you covered for Celtics post game live on Saturday night when the Celtics wrap up against the Philadelphia 76ers. That will be a first night of a back-to-back. And then obviously that Sunday against Toronto, I believe it is. We'll have you covered for Celtics postgame live as well. But for now, Brendon, the Celtics walk away out of Abu Dhabi with a sweep in the 2024 global games, a 107-103 victory on Friday afternoon, and a 130-104 dominating blowout game for the Celtics here this morning. For now, Jaylen Brown was the player spotlight for tonight. I'm Justin Lowe. That's Brennan Cox. We'll catch you guys on Sunday night.
see you guys. Thank you.